Welcome to this explainer. Look, if you're an executive, a business owner, or any professional operating at a high level, you already know that trust is your absolute ultimate currency. But here's the stark reality we're dealing with today. You are no longer the one who gets to establish that trust first. Search engines are. They've literally become the ultimate arbiters of professional credibility. Long before you ever shake a hand, pitch a client, or close a major deal, a machine has already introduced you. So today, we're going to unpack exactly how that works, and more importantly, how you can actually engineer it.
I want you to picture a scenario for a second. Think about those precise seconds right after a potential client, a huge investor, or maybe a future employer hears your name for the very first time. What's the immediate next thing they do? They search for you, right? In those critical few seconds before any actual human interaction even happens, your digital first impression is completely formed. If they stumble across negative mentions, outdated content, or frankly just a lack of authoritative presence, your credibility instantly takes a massive hit. You could lose the opportunity before you even knew it was on the table.
Okay, let's dive right into this. Here is our roadmap for this explainer. 1. The digital first impression. 2. The mechanics of search perception. 3. The reputation management process. 4. Managing negative content. And finally, 5. The ROI of digital control. Let's kick things off with Section 1, the digital first impression. The search ecosystem is essentially the modern gatekeeper of your career. It shapes your entire narrative before you even step foot in the room. This quote really nails the reality of the situation perfectly. Search results function as digital identity frameworks that influence trust, authority, and perceived expertise. Think about that for a second. When a key decision maker is scanning your search results, they aren't just blindly reading links, they're actively building a mental framework of your entity credibility. If that framework is built on misleading or super outdated info, your perceived expertise just tanks, and those high-level opportunities, they simply vanish.
Moving on to Section 2, the mechanics of search perception.
So how exactly does the machine actually make these decisions? Well, we really need to redefine how we think about this whole concept. Online reputation management isn't just some reactionary panic button you press when something goes horribly wrong online. No, it's a structured process for monitoring, improving, and protecting your digital identity by controlling legitimate reputation signals. It's a proactive, long-term strategy that is specifically designed for SERP, or Search Engine Results Page Stability. Basically, you're building a fortress, not just running around putting out fires.
And what's truly fascinating here is how clinical the search engine actually is. It doesn't have personal feelings about you. It's just relentlessly looking for 4 very specific evaluation signals: relevance, authority, engagement, and consistency. The algorithm scans your professional profiles, any publications, media mentions, just to see if your story matches up across the web. If your digital footprint is throwing out really strong, consistent signals of authority and relevance, the algorithm is going to reward you with a prominent, highly trustworthy search ranking.
Which brings us to Section 3, the reputation management process.
Let's take a look at how professional services actually engineer a highly resilient digital footprint right from the ground up. Systematic reputation engineering relies on a very clear, very reliable 3-stage framework. First up is the assessment and audit, followed by content and authority optimization, and then finally, ongoing monitoring. This structured intervention works so incredibly well because it aligns perfectly with how search engine behavior actually operates in the wild. Let's break these stages down real quick.
It all kicks off with Stage 1, the assessment and audit, because let's face it, you can't fix what you haven't measured. This stage is all about establishing your current baseline conditions. We go in and identify existing reputation risks, analyze exactly where you currently rank, evaluate the authority of the content attached to your name, and map out the overall sentiment patterns. All of this creates a strictly data-driven foundation for action. It tells us exactly what those high-priority areas are that require our immediate intervention.
Once that audit is squared away, we enter Stage 2, which is optimization. This is where the heavy lifting really happens. We start strengthening your positive digital assets, things like your professional biographies, expert articles, media coverage, and your verified profiles. By enriching these specific assets, we drastically improve your relevance score. Search engines interpret these optimized, high-quality signals as massive indicators of trustworthiness, and that naturally pushes your positive narrative right to the very forefront of the search index. But as we all know, search environments are never static, right? They're constantly evolving as new content gets indexed every single day. And that brings us to Stage 3, monitoring. This ongoing management is just absolutely crucial. It's how you preserve your control over the SERP.
Continuous tracking ensures that any emerging risks get immediate attention. You definitely don't want negative narratives or outdated information silently regaining visibility while you aren't looking.
All right, moving into Section 4, Managing Negative Content.
This brings us to what is easily one of the most critical aspects of this entire explainer, the actual mechanics of handling harmful material through visibility management. It is so absolutely vital to understand the difference between removal and suppression here. Content removal is actually highly specific. It really only applies when content violates laws, search policies, or your personal rights. You can't just delete something off the internet simply because you don't like it. Ethical suppression, on the other hand, that's about altering prominence. It's the highly strategic process of building up positive, authoritative assets so heavily that they simply outcompete and push down that negative content. It's all about shifting those algorithmic ranking signals firmly in your favor.
And this brilliantly illustrates exactly how treating your search results like digital real estate allows you to outcompete harmful historical indexing. Here's how those mechanics play out. When you optimize verified profiles, you stabilize your digital identity. When you build authoritative articles, you gain prominent visibility. And when you continuously expand those positive signals, the mechanical effect is that the outdated or negative content gets pushed down the rankings. You are essentially outranking the bad stuff by totally overwhelming the algorithm with high-authority good stuff.
Finally, let's look at Section 5, the ROI of digital control.
It is absolutely time to stop thinking of digital reputation as some fluffy, abstract concept and start treating it strictly as a tangible asset class that requires strategic investment. Now, we need to set some highly transparent expectations about timelines here, because no ethical service on Earth is going to promise you overnight results. Search engines take time to crawl and index. In the first few weeks, you'll see the initial indexing of new or updated assets. But over several months, that's when the real magic happens, as the algorithm totally reassesses the authority relationships across your entire digital ecosystem. And ongoing? Well, that's how you achieve sustainable SERP stability and permanently reduced risk. Please beware of any provider offering immediate unsupported guarantees. That is simply not how the technology works at all.
So when you're evaluating a provider to handle this critical asset, you absolutely must demand an evidence-driven approach. You need a transparent process, realistic timelines, and highly measurable reporting. The entire focus has to be on ethical practices and legitimate authority building. And this naturally brings us to Clear My Name, which really operates as the gold standard reference throughout our source material today. Clear My Name centers its entire methodology exactly on this: visibility control and long-term reputation resilience, aligning perfectly with search engine guidelines to provide reliable, truly measurable outcomes.
Ultimately, a damaged reputation has massive, often completely invisible costs. We're talking lost contracts, missed partnerships, and seriously eroded trust. But a structured digital identity, that operates as a measurable business asset. The ROI of a managed reputation includes significantly increased visibility of your actual achievements, stronger entity credibility, vastly reduced exposure to harmful content, and most importantly, protected career progression and client trust. It really is a powerful investment in your entire future trajectory.
So, I'll leave you with this final, somewhat provocative thought to consider. If a crucial stakeholder, maybe a massive potential client, a board member, or a key investor, searched your name right this exact second, would the algorithm display your true professional value, or is a machine currently telling them a completely different story? Do not leave your digital first impression up to chance. Take back control of your narrative. You can learn a whole lot more about engineering your digital reputation over at clearmyname.org. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and I'll catch you next time.